Welcome to this Cimatron webinar. My name is Michael. I work in tech support at Cimatron. If you attended the clearance and vents webinar, this assembly will look familiar to you. We're continuing on this project and adding lifters to it. We are going to create the lifters using solids, and the benefits to this are shorter feature trees, quicker updating of the bodies, size-wise, and some of the features in it. The cut bodies will update when you update the lifter bodies, and we're going to eliminate manual features like fillet and trim face, which if you go that route, when you make a change, you get a lot of suppressions, and it's due to the manual picks in them. So again, a lot better technique using the solids, as you'll see. We're going to make the lifter part active. We're going to add a new part, call it lifter body 1. Going to place it on the assembly, excuse me, UCS. And if we roll the core parting skin over, you can see that there are 3 locations that lifters are required. And each location we're going to do kind of a variation with a couple differences on creating the lifters or in each area. We are going to use Sketcher. We're going to take the default plane. If you're, depending on your part, you may need to make some planes in local areas. In this case, I can get away with just using the default. I'm going to add reference geometry. I'm going to pick this edge. My lifters travel normal to that, so that's why I'm picking the reference. I'm going to make a line. I'm now going to offset that line, flip, add a couple more lines to finish up the rectangle. And add a few constraints. So I want these two to be the same value. I want these two to be the same value. I'm going to create another line so I can locate my lifter body, and I want it to be parallel to the outside or perpendicular to the line of my reference. Change it to reference geometry. Going to add some dimensions. Change that. And that line I'm going to use to locate the lifter body or this sketch. And in this case, I'm going to have a little shelf here for a seal off. I'm going to add a constraint. You can see that it's over constrained. I'm going to delete the original offset, and I'm going to change my lifter width. Something like that. I am going to extrude. Something like that. Then the other side, bring it down a little. I'm going to add taper. And taper. Later on, at the back angle, when I add my lifter rod and I calculate how much travel on that, I'll be able to update it or tie it to the lifter rod, and it'll update automatically and keep it pretty clean going forward. I'm going to split this front face, and I want it as plain, not as face. I am going to extrude that face, and I want it to be its own solid. I will merge it after, and I'll show you what the benefit is in a minute. So I went a little too far, I think. I don't want to be in between here. In this case, I'm going to back him off a bit. And that's better. Next, I'm going to use Extend Object, Replace Face. Now I know that's how it should be on that face. And I'm now going to do a solid cut. And this is where having separate objects is a benefit. If I had to do this as when it was all merged, it would be very difficult. But when I have two separate pieces, I can start picking the faces. I can see that all looks good. All trimmed up nice. I can now do a solid merge. And then I'm going to do one extra step here because I want to try and avoid the face for face where I can. And because I use the inside of the part, I'm going to do an offset of 10 thou outward. We're going to use solid cutting object. A lot of people don't use it or have problems with it. I think a lot of it comes down to when you apply it. I have my primitive pretty much set up here, and I'm going to select it, middle button, and say OK. So that's where I have my cut object at this point. I'm going to do my solid cut and cut it to the core parting skin. For me, I always change it to faces just to lighten the size of the file. And it's failing, and don't give up too easy here because the issue has to do with this face for face. Remember, I replaced face and put it on there? I am going to insert above my cut object, extend object, pick this face, and I'm going to offset it 1/10 of a thou of an inch. I can then go jump to, show you the cutting object has updated. And now when I go to do the cut, I get the result I was looking for. So think about if I was trying to build a cutting object from this, how much work it would have been as compared to, making it at this point, and it covers everything that I need. Okay, I can start adding some rounds. So this is one technique I use for rounds. And you go so far. so far. And we're building the clearance onto the lifter itself. And if you want more accurate, you can make your points at exact intervals and control them that way. In my case, I'm just free picking just for time's sake. There, I'll add my chamfer on the bottom. And now I can go about, before I color, I want to split these two faces so that I can color my seal off. So seal off color for me is green. I'm going to color my clearance. I'm going to use the new feature, expand the chamfer. And I'll turn that off so I don't forget. So that took care of that. I'm going to display the cut object. I'm going to add the rounds to that. Now with the cut object, I can make those the 1/4 inch. I'm going to make the bottom 100th thou. Again, use your standards. And I'm going to split these faces. Again, you want to convey what is seal off and what is clearance, what is part. So it's an important tool to color things properly for NC, for meetings. This makes it a lot easier to discuss things. I am going to hide the part. I am going to split some faces here, all to be able to color them properly. Okay, we can go around, start coloring. And seal off. Clearance, again, we'll use a filter for round. And eyedropper for the part color. And that's all good. We'll hide show toggle. Now if I display the core block, I can do two things. I can do a solid cut, or I can simply right click on the lifter, say, nope, cancel that, don't want to delete it. We want to edit the ad. It now knows there's a cutting object in there. Check the box for the core. Say OK. And it's all cut in Everything looks good. All the colors are there. I make this active. Maybe I want to increase the distance from the back from this feature. I can double click on it and say, let's shorten that up. And it'll go through, it'll update the cutting object, update the cut, update the lifter body. And you can see that's cut. All that's updated. Okay, so our next lifter we're going to do, again, we'll start with the add new part. It's active. We're going to do the one over here. Maybe a couple little differences. So again, I'm going to start with Sketcher, middle button. I'm going to add a reference curve again. Again, my lifter's running perpendicular to that. Again, we're going to offset. So all three of the lifters we're doing, this part will be the same. Couple lines to finish them off. Constraints. Same value. Same value. Make a line here. And perpendicular to that or parallel to here. I'm going to add dimensions. And a dimension to here. Now this dimension is going to be smaller because of what we're going to do to the front here. It's going to have no lead in or no land on it. It's going to be right against the feature. I'm going to add a constraint. And again, we'll get rid of that one dimension. Tighten this guy up. And again, extrude. Pretty close. Right about there. And then I'm going to add, an inch roughly. Yeah, I'm going to look at the top. I could leave it. I don't like just going super past or way past it for no reason. Again, just my way of working. Taper. Now we're going to take this face and replace faces to that face. We're going to split that face. Make sure it's as plane. And we're going to extrude that face. Oh, not round. Cancel that. I'm going to extrude that face. Make sure we go far enough. That's good. And again, we want it as a new part. Not going to assume anything, so we're going to, again, use replace face to make sure that that face is in the right spot. And now we can solid cut this using the other face is flip the arrow. We're going to merge. And then, like we did before, we're going to use the extend to get away from face on top of face. Offset. 10 thou, this time inboard. And now is the time that we can make the cut object. We can do a solid cut on this. And you notice we get the result without having to do anything with that top face. It doesn't happen all the time, the face for face. When it does, though, it's really annoying. In this case, it didn't. It could be just the way the tolerancing of both faces came together and wasn't an issue. I'm going to add rounds. I'm going to do a different technique here. And in this case, I'm going to use the step back. And I'm going to pick how much seal off I want. And do this one. And in this case, double check it. That looks good. This over here. And check it. That's good. I'm going to do the rounds here that are going to be my seal offs. I always do the larger rads first because it works out better. I end up with the shelf here, and when I make the smaller rad, it stops and cleans up nice there. Chamfer. And again, we'll do some faces split. Oops. There we go. Turn him off. Pick those two. And then go around and pick my seal off. Or my net surfaces. And now I can pick clearance faces. Again, the expand a chamfer. So there's our lifter. We'll toggle. And we'll do our rounds for this. We'll keep it 1/4 inch. Round. 1. And we'll display the lifter and do some face splits here. That looks pretty good. And that one's pretty close, yep. Get out of that. And again, start picking. Those two there. Expand around. And got to split a face again. Seal off. And that guy. Oh, we'll color that even though it's not going to cut anything. And toggle it. And again, we're going to show the core block. Going to edit the ad again. Keep picking the wrong one there. Edit the ad. With cut. Okay. So again, we can go into here. I can change this. I want it at 2.5 and 1.25. And it all updated. And everything's cut. All the colors are transferred. Okay, so that's two of them down. And now we're going to do the last one. Now this one we're going to do a little different in that I am going to build it down here. Some companies have designers, and then they have people that are the modelers or surfacers and work in this area. They'll develop things, and then the designer brings them into here. So I'm going to add a new part. Lifter body 3, again on assembly UCS. And what we're going to do different is we're going to use cut active. Okay, so you can see that there is a direction for this one. Okay, and we're going to use that in building this last lifter. So I'm going to go to cut active. I'm going to pick the target, which is at lifter body 3. I'm going to pick a face, indicates that direction. When I middle button, now the only option is import. Okay, just like we did on the core and cavity parting skins. So no objects in there, it knows. All it can do is import it, stitch it. We'll say OK, and we'll close that guy. I'm going to go Sketcher, and very similar to what we've done with the other ones. Reference line. Going to pick that curve to offset. And line. Again, constraints. Same value. Same value. Create the line. Now we can add dimensions. And this, again, we're going to do that front like the previous one. We can add a constraint. Right on there. Say OK. I'm going to bring up the core parting line. Extrude. And again, I usually just eyeball it till I get to close to the bottom of it, and then I'll go past it. We'll check the top again. Go OK. Roll them back around. And solid taper. Again, we're going to extend object to replace face with this face. Okay, and at this point, because I already have the nose in here, I am going to create the cut object. Turn that off. Show you what we have. Bring him back on. I can do my solid cut. Do this. Now I can merge. Make sure it's pointing to the outside. And update the color of that guy. Again, I can do my rounds. And that. Update, or place the rads up here for the seal off. Chamfer. And let's display this guy because we need to split the face there. Color that. Color all the faces. And okay, so that's all set. Show our cut object. We'll do our round. Color selection, pick it a little better. Again, the face is split. Let's do a hide. Now we have no nose on this yet, so let's take care of that. Everything else we've done hasn't affected that, so we can just do a faces split by that one, again as a plane. We can now extrude this as far as we need it. Again, it's a new. We want to replace faces. And now we can do a solid cut. Solid's a little better. Oh, I don't use for the cut. There we go. Solid cut. While we're here, we might as well split this face. Solid merge. And again, the extend, because we used the outer portion of that feature. Go inboard. And now we get into the coloring. Green. Add around to the bottom. Pick the clearance. There. Eyedropper. Whoops. Eyedropper. Wrong color. That does that. We'll toggle them. Now to bring it up into here, I'm going to right click on it and say add this component. I have some options here. Add as original, we'll keep it linked to the original. I want to break it all together, I can say add as a duplicate. Okay, so depending how you want to work, I'll leave it as original for right now. Oh, it's telling me I forgot to do something. Oh, no, there's my cutting object. So let's take a look at this for a moment. For whatever reason, it didn't transfer the cutting object, probably the order I picked the merge into. So that's on me, but easily remedied. Now I can add this component. Now it's got width cut. Again, I'll pick the core block. Turn this off, turn that off. And see that's all cut. And again, if I want to edit this, okay, I did this on purpose to cause a problem, so I'm going to go, okay. And the suppression's on this initial cut. People worry about that. You have to keep in mind is we picked the solid, but we told it use the faces, and now I've went bigger. Some of the faces are not selected. I just clear selection, pick, oops. Gotta remember I had the core up. Let's bring up the core parting line. Gotta turn the core off. Again, clear selection. Repicks the faces that we're missing. Say yes. And everything else is updated. Even the core block has been updated. So that's what I have for today. Again, hopefully you pick up some tips and maybe some commands you didn't utilize in the past. And thank you for your time and joining me. You can visit our website at www.cimatron.com. If you're in North America, you can contact us at support-us@cimatron.com. And if you'd like to contact us by phone, you can reach us at 877-596-9700, extension 1.